Good evening. It is Thursday, July 27th, 8:39 p.m. Central Daylight Time, local time here in, well, okay, let's put it this way. I don't know what city I'm in, and I rarely know what city I'm in. I usually know what major city I'm near. So here's the deal on me not knowing what city I'm in. Even though I'm at a pickup where I have an address. The address that Walmart gave me for this place is listed as Hutchins, Texas. But when I look up this address on Google Maps, Google says it's Lancaster, Texas. So I don't know which it is. I bet it's on my paperwork. I could go in there and find out and be 100% sure, but that's not really worth it. Oh, there's the beautiful damage. So what am I doing out here? Well, I was gonna show you a flat tire, but like, I was gonna get my glove on, but I mean, it's nothing special to see a flat tire. There are two ways that I check tires. One is sometimes I'll bring my thumper out and I'll just, go thump, 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 thump. Other times I'll have my gloves on and I'll just put my hand against the tire and press in on the sidewall with my thumb to see if they're flat. That inner tire there is flat. You can't tell by just looking at it. Now, you can usually tell if you're looking at it from this kind of angle because it'll look thinner. I think it's too dark for you to be able to see it in here. But the sidewall won't be pooched out as much as it should be. But let me see if you can see it on here. I don't know how well that shows up in the video. But the tire looks really good, but it is completely flat. I can spin it around on the rim. So I've been having quite a bit of interactions with the shop. My first few days with Walmart were awesome. I was like, man, you guys take really good care of your equipment. Everything was passing inspection. But the last few trailers I picked up, one of them didn't have registration at a super center, and I had to spend about an hour and a half finding a manager that had an email address that I could give to the shop so the shop could email the registration over so they could print it out. Earlier today, the very first trailer I started my day with had a leak on it, and just a heads up, because I know a lot of people don't know what all the lights are on these trailers. This trailer does not have one. But you'll sometimes see a light right around in this area on the trailer. It'll be a white light. And what that is it's if you have an automatic inflation system on the tires, that is an air leak indicator light. So this morning, the trailer that I picked up, the air leak indicator light kept coming on. Like it would go off and then it would come on. It was intermittent. And this is just while I was driving around in the parking lot. So I called the shop, told them I had an air leak, went over to the shop. They sent somebody out and had them inspect it. They couldn't find any issue and the light wasn't coming on. And they were like, I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, all right. All this stuff is just, butterflies and rainbows on how this technology works. So I was like, all right, I'll go. And I pulled around the building. As soon as I made it to the other side of the shop, the air leak indicator light was back on solid. So I parked it, made sure that it was staying on this time. And then I went into the shop and I was like, hey, he just checked it and it wasn't leaking whenever he checked it. I pulled around the other side of the shop and it's leaking again. And he sent another mechanic out there to look at it real quick. And it took that mechanic about 10 seconds to find the leak. It was one of the auto air connectors, the T connector on one of the auto airs. And what it is it was intermittently leaking because it was, I don't know, the mechanic took it out whenever he replaced it, and he was like, that's the reason it was intermittent. And the wire that went into the thing was just like jangling around. But, so had that issue, and then I came up here to do this drop and hook. You hear from me?
Yeah.
Sweet. I moved it over here to give you more room.
The inside tire, right?
Yeah, the back inside. I bet it would just air up if it... The tire looks almost brand new, but this thing doesn't have the auto air system, or it would probably just air up.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it's got a big hole in it somewhere. I didn't really look at it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll check.
So, and he's here like an hour early. That's awesome. So, he's starting up his air compressor. Let's walk somewhere else quieter. Let me just double check that I have both parking brakes set. Yes. So, the trailer was down there in between those two trailers, and I moved it over into this spot so that he wouldn't have to work in between trailers. And I checked in with the security gate people and the yard dog and let them know and asked them if it was cool that I would be out here for like 3 or 4 hours getting this thing fixed. I want to show you a trailer. I just watched 2 guys drop this trailer over here a couple minutes ago. It was some no-name company that had their name of their company on like black magic marker written on the side of the truck. That, my friends, is frame damage. This trailer really needs to be inspected by a mechanic and signed off on to know whether or not it is roadworthy, because you see those cross members, they're all bent in, and this is really fresh frame damage. I'm pretty sure the 2 drivers that dropped this trailer did this damage because all of this is fresh. But if you look under the trailer, you'll notice that it doesn't have frames that go down the length of the trailer like you would normally see frames. This metal strip around the outside is the frame. It holds the cross members in place. So these trailers have a frame that's on the exterior, not down the middle like you would see on like a car or a truck. So whenever you hit something and it fucks up this metal right here, that's frame damage. That's structural. This trailer is probably totaled. It should not have a load put in it. It's not load bearing anymore. So now you can see how bad the cross members are bent. They just dropped it there and left it for the next driver. Hello, hello. I think he's an employee out here about to load the trailer probably. So let's talk about my thoughts on Wally World. So Monday, I was mixed Didn't really hate it, didn't really not hate it. Tuesday, I hated it. Wednesday, I was actually really excited. And then today, I'm back to mixed. And it all has to do with money on why my opinion keeps bouncing around. I was told when I started the contract that I'm getting the weekly minimum no matter what I do. So, here comes the yard dog. I'm getting the weekly minimum no matter what I do. Gave him a good wave. I should probably stay over by let's go over to the other side of my truck. It's probably quiet over there. I don't want to be like standing in front of a trailer while he's trying to hook up to it or something. But he's over there making lots of noise. We don't want to be over there. So I was told that I was just going to get the contract minimum. And they were working my ass off. They've been running me up against my 14-hour clock every day. So I only worked like 12 hours on Monday, so I was like, I was mixed. Tuesday, they almost ran me completely out of my clock, to the point where maybe let's go a little bit further away. To the point where, like, I almost had to use personal conveyance to find a place to park. And then Wednesday was the same thing. I almost had to use personal conveyance to find a place to park. But I got pretty big mileage Tuesday and Wednesday. Monday was only about like 220 miles. Tuesday was like over 400 miles. Wednesday was over 400 miles. And I was like, wow, if this keeps up, I'm gonna make a lot more money than what I was expecting, because I'm gonna not get the weekly minimum. I'm actually gonna get paid by the mile. I'm gonna get like 2,000 miles or more per week. And then today, they gave me a bunch of local deliveries. Well, actually it was 2 local deliveries, 1 trailer, 2 stops. And it took all day long to do those 2 stops. Driving around in residential areas to go to the Walmart grocery stores, the neighborhood markets or whatever they are. Those things are in like residential areas where they cannot get permitting for a normal Walmart. So they're very restrictive. Like, you're not allowed to stay parked there after your delivery's over with. You're not allowed to idle your truck, which I idled my truck because it's hot out here. And you're really restricted on the routes that you can use to go in and out of those places because they're in residential neighborhoods. So, yeah, it was a pain in the butt doing the neighborhood markets today. And it basically took all day long, and that was like 70 miles. Took almost all day. And then it was like a 60 or 70 mile drive from there where I did the neighborhood market deliveries, because those 2 stores are only 3 miles apart. I drove like 70 miles, and then I delivered to a store, drove like 3.5 miles, delivered to another store. And then I drove like 60 or 70 miles to here. So I've been working since like 9 a.m. It's almost 12 hours at this point, and I've done like 130, 140 miles. So it seems like Walmart is intentionally keeping me under the 1,600 miles, which is basically what all the drivers told me. They said no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to get over 1,600 miles. So they said just don't even try, don't work your ass off. So that's basically what I plan on doing going forward. And I talked with them about, running out of my, 14-hour clock every day. And I found out that all of these trips they're giving me have like a full day to deliver. Like, I thought that I had to have all the trips completed by the end of the day, and that's not true. Like, the trips that I had today, which was only like 130 miles, actually no, is 130 miles to here, and I still have to go from here to Sanger, which is going to be, I don't know how many miles it is from Hutchins, Texas to Sanger. I'm guessing like 80. So that put me somewhere in the ball, a little over 200 miles on the day. But this load right here that I have is not scheduled to deliver until tomorrow. But I can deliver it anytime. I just have to deliver it by sometime tomorrow. I don't know what the cutoff is tomorrow. They didn't give me the exact time. But sorry, I started thinking about something else. I'm thinking about like my sleeper split. Like, he got here an hour to an hour and a half earlier than what the shop told me he was gonna. They told me he was gonna be here around like 9:30 to 10 p.m. and he got here at like 8:40. So now I'm rethinking my schedule. I am so close to out of my 70 hours right now that after I deliver this load in Sanger, I'm just going to ask him if I can be done for the week. Because after I deliver in Sanger, I'm going to have like 8 hours left on my 70-hour clock. And I need 4 hours to be able to drive home. They're supposed to leave me with enough hours to drive home. They're not supposed to, run me out of the clock where I have to stay in this area over the weekend. They're supposed to leave me with enough hours to drive home on Friday. So I need at least 4 hours to drive home. It's only 150 miles, which I should easily be able to do in 3 hours. But whenever you take into consideration pre-trip, post-trip, and traffic and everything else that could possibly happen, and we're not talking about my drive time, we're talking about my 70-hour clock. Like, my on duty, my drive time, everything counts against it. So I would feel a lot more comfortable with 5 hours, 4 hours, absolute minimum to get home. But I feel a lot more comfortable with 5 hours to get home. And that leaves them with 3 hours to send me places to do stuff. And it usually takes them like an hour just to dispatch me. And then it takes about 30 to 45 minutes for me to drive around the property, hook up to the trailer, do all the paperwork, and, then leave the property, get checked out and all that stuff. So you're talking about an hour and 45 minutes just to get a trip and leave the property. So I don't think I have enough time to be running any more additional loads after this one. I'm so like out of my 70-hour clock right now that I don't know. I'm just, the thing is that they're going to be closed whenever I get there. They're not open 24 hours a day. The dispatch people, they told me that they're closed between midnight and 3 a.m. And I think I need to do a minimum of a 2-hour break. I'm about an hour into a sleeper break right now. I'm having to do a sleeper split to extend my 14-hour clock, so that I can actually drive up to Sanger right now. don't tell anybody I'm listed in the sleeper right now while I'm making a YouTube video. I'm not sure if this is considered work related. My channel's not monetized, so I don't make any money off of it, so I don't think it's recreation. I think it's recreation. I don't think it's work related. But yeah, I think I need to stay in the sleeper for at least 2 hours, and then I can drive up to Sanger, deliver this load, and I don't think there's going to be anyone at Sanger. Like, I also need to call and close out my trip whenever I get there. And they told me that the people I call to close out the trips close at 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. So, like, I've got to wait until like 6 o'clock in the morning to be able to close out all my trips and stuff anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm so confused, but I think I'm going to be heading to home early on Friday because I don't have enough time to do much of anything else. So this is probably going to be basically the end of my week. And I don't know. We'll keep running the contract for now. It's money. It's not good money. I need to do some math though, because I'm getting $700 a day gross to the truck. And I need to crunch some numbers about how many hours I'm working and how much fuel I'm using and all my expenses and everything. I need to run all that stuff through my spreadsheet to figure out if it's worth doing this or should I just go run random loads. The only I could make more money on a daily basis running random loads than running this crap, even with as bad as the rates are. The problem is consistency. I might have to sit for 2 or 3 days to find a load that pays, decent. To consistently run one right after another is really hard to do right now in this market. So the $700 a day is like pretty bad, but it's probably still better than anything else I can do. And speaking of this market, I don't think it's getting better anytime soon. I hate to, be a doom and gloomer, but you just look at what's going on. And it's pretty easy to tell what's going to happen in the future whenever you know what's happening now. You can't predict with 100% accuracy what's going to happen because there's a lot of, possibilities. There are things that could happen that could change the course of events. You don't know everything that's going to happen. But if nothing changes and you know everything that's going on right now, you can make a really good educated guess as to what's going to happen in the future. So I'll give you my educated guess on the freight market. It's bad. We are not even at the bottom of how bad this freight market is yet. And we have to hit bottom before we can start climbing out. We still have way too many trucks out here on the road. I think that there are a lot of companies on the verge of going out of business. So we could see a trucking holocaust in the near future. And that would be good for the freight market. The other side of the equation, the freight market, the amount of freight is usually tied to the economy. The economy has a lot to do with the freight volume. And the economy is really, really, really bad and getting worse. Inflation is out of control. The US dollar is not as in demand of a currency on the world stage as it used to be. So that is one of the things that's pressuring the US dollar as far as inflation goes. There's a out of control government spending is a big part of the inflation, but the demand side of it is also a part of the equation, and the demand for the dollar is also dropping. So they are having to continue aggressively raising interest rates to try to get inflation under control. And it's a lot like the freight market right now, where we just have way too many drivers or way too much money, and the freight volume just keeps dropping. The demand for the dollar just keeps dropping. We have way too many dollars in circulation. They still continue printing them like crazy, and the demand for the dollar keeps dropping. So they just have to keep raising inflation, or not inflation, but the interest rate like crazy to try to get it under control, to keep us from having hyperinflation. And inflation is really bad for the economy because wages don't keep up with inflation. What happens with inflation is the price of goods outpaces wages. So people can't afford to go to the movies. They can't afford to buy that car. They can't afford to buy the house. They start spending their money on necessities like food and water and shit like that. They can't afford extra stuff. So that is the reason, the economy is usually tied to the freight market. Whenever people are buying tons of shit, then we have to move it in trailers, right? We have to move it around the country. So with inflation being out of control, people aren't buying as much stuff because they're being priced out of it. And with the high interest rates, they can't get loans to buy houses and cars and get credit cards and stuff like that. Holy crap. Did he blow up the tire? Was that somebody setting their air brakes? I don't know what the hell that loud bang was. I'm gonna go over here and make sure he's not flopping on the ground. All good? Sweet.
Yeah, we're playing pirates.
You had to swap it out, that other one was leaking?
Yeah, I got it on the shoulder.
Oh, on the shoulder?
Yeah.
So, I forgot what I was saying. He's wrapping up his paperwork right now. He's probably going to want me to sign it in a second, so I don't need to get away too terribly far. That loud air hiss was probably him disconnecting his air hose. But, yeah, the interest rates, the high interest rates, price people out of things where they have to get stuff on loans, like houses and cars. There's a YouTuber that I watch called Economic Ninja or something like that. And he said that loan rejections are at an all-time high right now. People are applying for loans and they're getting rejected at all-time high numbers. So that could mean a lot of things. It could mean that the banks are getting more strict on credit requirements. It could also mean that prices have gotten so high that people can't qualify with their income. Or it could be a mixture of a bunch of things. But, sorry, I'm trying to keep an eye on him. Be ready to sign or whatever when he's ready. He's still got to put a bunch of things away, so I think it's going to be a minute. So, What the hell are we saying? Yeah, there's one of the things that's happening right now that mainstream media is basically not covering anything that's going on with the economy. And one of the things that's going on right now with the economy, with all of the... Okay, look at from the perspective of banks. How do banks make money? Through loans. Well, the amount of loans that banks are giving out right now has dropped like crazy. So imagine, a business that sells loans, and now all of a sudden the number of loans that they're giving out has dropped by a lot. That means that they're losing a lot of money. Also, repossessions and foreclosures are at really high rates. Banks are losing money on people not paying their loans. And I've been hearing some scary rumors about some big banks that are having some solvency issues, some liquidity issues. This is the same kind of stuff that happened back in 2008, 2009. So, as bad as things have been for the last year and a half in the freight market, it's looking like it could get a lot worse. We could have like a 2008, 2009 style crash happen in the near future that is going to make the economy a lot worse than it already is. So, like I said, I'm not, like, I can't predict the future, but my recommendation based off what I know, plan for the freight market being bad for at least another year, maybe another 2 years. If you are in a position where the freight market has to go back to good rates within the next 6 months for you to stay in business, then start finding a new plan. Start trying to find some way to shift some expenses around or do something so that you can survive longer in the current freight market, because I think it's going to stay like this, maybe even get worse than this for quite a while, a year or two, which is why I don't want to burn any bridges with this Walmart account, even though it doesn't pay very well. If I can do this long term, I can survive. Let me pause this. I got to sign some paperwork. All right, we signed the things, and he's about to leave. And I'm gonna go inspect the tire after he leaves. I don't want to do it while he's here because some mechanics get insulted with that. I did it one time when I was at USA Truck. I had something fixed on a trailer in the shop, and they told me it was done and that I could leave. And I went back and I did a quick walk around, just checking lights and tires before I pulled out of the bay. And they were just like really pissed off that I did an inspection before I pulled out of the bay. So now I try to wait until the mechanic's not looking to inspect their work. But I've still got 42 minutes left to do a 2-hour break. I only have 1 hour and 43 minutes left on my 14-hour clock, and I don't think that's enough time for me to make it to Sanger. Even if it is enough time for me to make it to Sanger, I still have to have enough time on my clock to go find a place to park after I, do everything I need to do in Sanger. And it takes a long time. If it takes me an hour and a half just to drive to Sanger, it can take me 45 minutes to an hour to check in at the gate, to park the trailer, to do all my paperwork, and go check in with dispatch and all that stuff. It can take another hour just to do all that stuff once I get to Sanger, and then I got to drive somewhere and find a place to park, and it can take me 15 minutes just to get off the property. So yeah, I'm gonna have to wait for my 2-hour sleeper break before I attempt to drive to Sanger. But once I do my 2-hour break to extend my 14, I have 5 hours of drive time. I don't think I'm going to get all of that drive time back. I don't know. I'm going to have to try to remember the intricacies of the sleeper split on what exactly you recoup after you do the 2-hour break. I think I actually do get all of my drive time back, so I would be able to drive for 5 hours. So I'm still going to have to take a 10-hour break before I can go home, because I'm not going to have enough time on my clock to drive home. So I'll have to get up to Sanger, deliver, go find a place to park, take a 10-hour break, come back in, turn in my paperwork, and then just turn around and go home tomorrow. That's I'm pretty sure what I'm going to have to do, because I just don't have any damn clock left. So I don't know. Right now, let's not burn bridges on the Walmart account. Let's keep doing it and see how it goes. And they are hiring people like crazy. Well, they're contracting people like crazy. When I went in there Tuesday morning, they had an orientation class of, I don't know what all companies were there. I saw a bunch of Hirschbach tractors parked in front of dispatch. So there were a bunch of, there were like on Monday, we only had 5 people in our orientation class. There were probably a dozen people there Tuesday going through orientation for the private contractor fleet. Like, it was crazy. And there were Walmart drivers in the lobby, in the break room area, that were making comments about it. They were like, are we really this short-handed? And they were whispering, so I don't know what exactly they said, but one of the managers was whispering something to him about how, you know, what was going on. I wish I would have heard what she said, but I think I mentioned this in a previous video that at the Sanger terminal for Walmart, they are desperate for drivers. They made a sales pitch in my orientation, recruiting us, trying to get us to apply to be Walmart drivers. And they said that they are hiring 70 drivers at just the Sanger terminal right now. So they're bringing in contractors like crazy to move freight for them because they're so short-handed. So yeah, it's good for me. It means that I've got something to do throughout the rest of the year. I mean, Walmart is one of those businesses that's going to continue to thrive in a bad economy because people still like this. Walmart provides basic necessities, food and water and diapers and, you know, formula and cheap clothes. And, you know, whenever people can't afford the name brand stuff, they have to go to places like Walmart. So Walmart thrives in bad economies. So Walmart is doing, from what I can tell, they're doing really well right now. And they're probably going to continue to do well. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up so that I can do my trip plan and figure out my hour situation and try to find out exactly what I'm going to do tonight because I need to find a place to park to take a 10-hour break. I don't know if I'm gonna drive straight into Sanger and deliver this load and then go find a place to park, or if I'm gonna go find a place to park and then deliver the load tomorrow. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the video, and those are my thoughts on the Walmart contract, and you know, everything else I ramble on about. But hope you're having a great week. Bye.